Nobody in Britain should be living in a tent on our streets. This is what Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, says, and I agree with her. However, that's the only thing she says that I can agree with. She seems to talk about the homeless with such disdain. We cannot allow our streets to be taken over by rows of tents occupied by people, many of them from abroad, living on the streets as a lifestyle choice. Personally, I think it's a national disgrace that people are having to sleep in tents in our cities because they don't have a suitable and secure home. And I'm really not convinced that anyone would choose to be living homeless, living in a tent in the winter as a lifestyle choice. The average age of death for people experiencing homelessness is 46 for men and 43 for women. This, surely, is not a life that people choose. She also throws an anti-foreigner remark in there by pointing out that many of them are from abroad. She talks about those who are genuinely homeless as if some of those that are homeless are fake homeless. I'm often in the Charing Cross area of London, and there are a couple of streets that are currently lined with tents. I've actually noticed that this seems to have increased over the past year. Braverman's comments came in the context of charities giving tents to homeless people, which I guess is why it's taken off this year. She's proposing a new civil offence that could fine charities for giving out these tents. She talks about nuisance and distress to other people. She talks about communities being blighted. I must say, being honest, that I don't like what it's done to those particular areas. But my most pressing thought is distress, that people are living like that in our country. It's ridiculous to be blaming them or the charities that give them tents for doing something wrong. For me, the blame lies squarely at the door of government. We have an economic system that's leaving people behind. Rather than saying that we don't want to see these people because it's upsetting, so we're going to ban them, we should be finding definitive solutions. To be fair, the government has put some effort into dealing with homelessness, but not enough, nowhere near enough. Let's look at the facts. This chart shows the number of rough sleepers between 2010 and 2022. This is the time the Conservatives have been in power. This is not the total number of people that are homeless. For example, those that are in temporary accommodation or who are sofa surfing are considered homeless, but they're not included in these statistics. Here we're talking about the people that are actually sleeping rough. We can see that it's increased significantly during this period. There was a significant fall in 2020 with COVID, which in fact shows what can be done when extra funding is provided. But it's started growing again since. At the same time, we can see that welfare spending has significantly decreased since the Conservatives have been in power, going down from 3.9% of GDP in 2010 to 2.9% of GDP in 2019, a more than 25% cut. It's pretty clear that there's a strong correlation between welfare spending and homelessness. When welfare spending was decreasing over a 10-year period, the number of rough sleepers dramatically increased. During COVID, when spending was significantly increased, guess what? The number of rough sleepers decreased. But post-COVID, as it's fallen again, we see that the number of rough sleepers is again increasing. So what is actually being done about it? In 2017, the Homelessness Reduction Act significantly changed the system. The charity Crisis has produced some detailed analysis of what happened between 2018 and 21 as a result of this new legislation. The report says that support and assistance was opened up to significantly more people facing homelessness. To be fair, we can see that there was a slight reduction pre-COVID. So the Homeless Reduction Act does seem to have had some effect. However, the number is still very high. The crisis research shows that many are still being turned away under the new system, and not getting the help they need. 1 in 6 people, 17%, said that they received no support, advice, or assessment at all. Of those that have had contact with their local authority housing services, 46% remained homeless. That's almost half remaining homeless after going to the local authority for support. For those who were already sleeping rough, this figure was higher, 67%. 2/3 of rough sleepers were still homeless after being in contact with the local authority. For those that did get help, it's important to take into account whether the outcome was satisfactory. The grey columns show us the relevant data here. Around 1/3 of people helped said that their situation was secure and suitable. Almost 40%, however, said that the outcome was neither secure nor suitable. And then around 10% found their accommodation not secure and 20% not suitable. So 70% were not happy with their accommodation. Of course, this is based on a survey of homeless people, so the answers are subjective, but I think this at least highlights the issue that the accommodation provided may not be very nice at all. You might say that beggars shouldn't be choosers. I wouldn't say that. I think this actually raises the possibility that people may choose to live in a tent on the street rather than live somewhere that isn't secure or suitable. But this certainly is not a lifestyle choice. Another point to consider is that people often have a life crisis that results in them becoming homeless. This table shows the reasons for leaving the last settled base. 36% were asked to leave or were evicted. 7% lost their job. 15% had a relationship breakdown. In the 18% that were other reasons, maybe some of them did make a lifestyle choice to live on the streets. Not impossible. But the point is that most people who are homeless are there because they have significant problems that they really need help with. And given the right help, they will not be homeless. As I say on many of these videos, we need a radical plan to massively increase expenditure to solve problems like this. This is simply a question of money. As I point out in my video on tax, the UK has so much wealth, and some kind of wealth or land tax could easily solve the problem. For anyone that has a lot of wealth, wouldn't you prefer to share a bit of your money to eradicate the problem? Or would you prefer that the Home Secretary removes these people from your eyesight so that the fact that people are living in tents on the streets doesn't bother you? There are really basic things that can be done, like increasing housing benefit to cover the cost of living increases and providing much more social housing. This is what we should be doing to get the tents off the streets, rather than trying to fine people for giving the homeless tents. I hope you found this information useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.